Everything old is new again. America's entertainment pop culture talk show.
It may well possess a rudimentary intelligence.
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Felt a great disturbance in the force.
Hello, I'm Mr. Red.
Come on, bark like a dog for me.
Where's the goodies?
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
I bet you wouldn't have done anything like this if Mom and Dad were here.
You filthy criminal.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Here are your hosts, Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
In a recent Gallup poll, 15 million Americans claim to have seen a UFO. 15 million. The same poll showed that 51% of the adult population is convinced that flying saucers are real. Perhaps it's time to approach the question of UFOs again, without bias. For we can only hope that if we are being studied by aliens, it is with more thoroughness and care than we have focused on them.
How about that? Welcome back to Everything Old is New Again, UFO version. I'm here, Douglas Viviani, with the out of this world, David Cohen.
Good to be here, Doug. Good to be here.
Why do you laugh?
I love this topic when we do this. It's great.
Exactly. And it's always a little better because we're joined for the 16th time by Dr. Viviani, Ufologist Extraordinaire and Affiniado of all things odd. I've added that new title. Is that a good one?
I didn't realize I moved up in the world.
Do you like being the aficionado of all things odd?
No, not really.
No. Well, you got to come up with a name yourself. You got to get me something to do here. But we used to say, what would we say? Aficionado, UFO aficionado?
Extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire. Aficionado. You like that one better?
Ufologist.
Ufologist extraordinaire, I said. And then we used to say UFO aficionado. But instead I'm saying aficionado of all things odd.
No.
It's a little something to it.
Okay. All right. I can maybe.
Instead of fumbling and stumbling, because we're always fumbling and stumbling about what to call you. Am I right?
Just don't call me late.
You bet we can't figure that out before the show starts.
Well, we're doing show prep as we speak because we are excited and we've got to get right to it. We cannot wait and prepare. We have to just dive into the subject of UFOs and the updates that have been happening over the last 6 months since the doctor's been here to talk about this. It's going mainstream. Mm-hmm. UFO discussion is going mainstream. Yes or no, Dr. Viviani?
Absolutely. Like you mentioned before, it's on Tucker Carlson has segments. It's all over, and geez, and you can now anybody can access anything on YouTube. Although there's a lot of junk there, but you can see actual videos.
And what about this? What about the Pentagon releasing and declassifying records in the next couple of months? Let's just hear from Tucker first, and we'll dive into it.
It's interesting. Just before Christmas, there were some leaks. Sitting in Office of Naval Intelligence is an organization called the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. Some leaks suggest they have not ruled out the extraterrestrial hypothesis.
And there may be physical evidence of the existence of these craft, whatever they are. Have you heard that?
Yes, I've heard talk of so-called metamaterials, and I think this report really will have to disclose. Everything in government is fragmented. They want to know who knows what. They want a single official named and put in charge of all this, and this is going to include FBI. We want answers.
How about that? We want the answers. You want the answers? You've come to the right place. This is where the answers are. This is where the questions begin and the answers are presented. David Cohen, you look like you're skeptical about that. Do you see and understand?
Didn't know he had any answers.
Do you even understand how the Pentagon isn't? Here's the question. There's been a task force. We've talked about this. We've had this Luis Elizondo. We've talked about him, if you remember, former member of that task force. He was in charge of the task force. So now we're talking about, this is present day 2021. Somewhere in the summer of 21, we will have released not just a couple of Tic-Tac videos, all of their videos, all of their material, at least will be released unscrubbed, let's say, to Congress, and that's going to leak to the general public. Is that exciting to you? Is it something you care about? Is it not believable? Do you think they're going to be releasing anything of interest? David Cohen.
Well, it was exciting when I heard about it, and the more I thought about it, the less excited I became, because I have a feeling it's going to amount to a whole lot of nothing.
Good question. Good point. However, what we just heard on Tucker Carlson there, I forget who that gentleman was, but it was that Pope?
Nick Pope.
Yeah, Nick Pope. Dr. Viviani, that's why you're here, giving us the
former head of ministry in the England.
UK. Yep. Now, the question is this. Dr. Viviani, they're mentioning that the leak right now is that they have some material. They're calling it metamaterial because they don't know what to call it. There might be a piece, they're saying, a piece of a spaceship, something that is made of an alloy that is not of this Earth.
Well, I'd be curious to see if they have that. You're saying they're going to release that?
Yes.
Now that
and that material.
Yeah.
But the thing they're saying clearly, it's being released to Congress, not to the not all of it's not going to be released to the general public.
Yeah.
I don't know what the heck that makes no sense to me. Why are you announcing you're releasing it if you're just releasing it to another government agency?
Yeah.
That's nonsense. I will say this to you. If there's something, it will be, we've seen through the history of our government since Washington, there will be a leak of whatever they present to Congress. That's for sure. There's some intern somewhere for, I don't know, some congressman that's going to, take whatever material comes across his desk and throw it on YouTube.
I got to side with Dave here. I'm thinking that when push comes to shove, they're not going to release everything, and what they do release will be bland.
Interesting. I'm going to remain optimistic on that front. I'm also going to say to you that because this is how significant this is in the world of UFO aficionados, and I know you know this. The Japanese, in response to that announcement that the Pentagon is releasing this material in the summer, and the leaks, the various leaks of what the material is. Again, one of the leaks was this Tic Tac video, which is significant. The Japanese ministry and government have said that they're no longer taking the position that there's no such thing as UFOs. They have changed it, and they're saying that they now will be working with the U.S., the Secretary of Defense, Mark Esper. If that's still the person now, it might be changed. I don't know. But the point is, whoever's the U.S. Secretary of Defense at this time, the Japanese say if they find and hear of any UFO sightings that are of substance, they will be working with and sending it to the Pentagon. Oh. So, David Cohen, does that mean anything to you? The face on him. I think you better get a cup of yogurt or something. You look very hungry and pained. You know the pained look Leo gets on his face when he doesn't eat? You look like you're so perturbed. But you say you like this topic. But
I do like the topic. I do, but it's all these fits and starts all the time. Like, oh, there's going to be this great unclassified information, this leak that's going to come out. Wait 6 months, the whole thing's going to explode, and nothing ever happens. Because my theory is, if you're asking, I don't even know if you're asking.
No, but of course I'm asking. Are you kidding? We're here on the show to discuss your theories.
Look, I'm not ruling out the possibility that, every president we've had recently could be, clued into perhaps some contact that the U.S. government or some other world leaders have had with extraterrestrial life forms. I guess that's possible. And would want to keep it from the public. I get that too, until they can find out more information. But in reality, as I've mentioned before, if there's some alien life form that wants to communicate with us, they would have done it. We would have known about it. It would have gotten out. You can't keep that thing under wraps.
First and foremost, I don't believe, and Dr. Viviani, I think you're with me on this, the President of the United States doesn't know any of this ever.
They don't.
I'm not making fun of it. They're not told.
They don't have the clearance.
Yeah. No. I don't care who the president is. They're not told.
How does the president not know?
Because the president is not
have clearance.
Because despite what you think, the president, on this issue, the president is not the last
He's
say.
about 8 steps lower, from what I understand.
Right.
From the
now that's something
that's the fact. Think about it. Presidents are in there 4 years, 8 years. They're not handing over the most secretive things to somebody that's going to be gone in 4 days.
We do know, like it or not, that there are people that work in the government for life and for a long time. And listen, you know what, David? I see your face, and I agree with you. Let me put it this way. We have to prove this. Before we go any further.
You can't hide things from the president asks for something. You pretty much have to show them, don't you?
No.
Like what?
Because this is so life and civilization.
No, but besides this, I spoke with an alien last week. I can't tell you.
I don't know that there are certain security clearances that, like the head of the CIA can tell the president to go take a hike. I'm not telling you. There's certain need to know.
Yeah, maybe we should do a show. Honestly, we need to investigate that because that is you're exactly right. That's a key part to this. Are we right when we say the president is not told everything when he's asked? We've heard that to be the case, but maybe we should prove that next time we're on the air. Am I wrong, David Cohen?
Yeah, I think you're right. But okay, so let's say, all right, I'll backtrack. Let's say it's not the president. Whoever the highest up in the chain of command that would have this information and is deciding not to disclose it for public safety reasons, whatever, till they can get more information. What I'm saying is that I guess that's possible. I don't know. But again, the bigger point I was trying to make was, somebody wanted to talk to us. We all know about it.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in. Next week, we're going to be talking about... I was
waiting for the end of the sentence. I think what you're trying to say is that you want them to land on... this is figuratively speaking, but you want them basically to land on the White House lawn and announce, we're UFOs, we're here, we're going to talk to you as a civilization.
They want it, if they exist, first of all, and they're trying to communicate with us, they would have communicated with us.
Okay.
We would all know about it.
I don't know. That's a good question. Let's talk about that when we get back. Right here on Everything Old's New Again.
This is Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror that leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Logs are turning into flames. The whole field's caught up by the woods of fires. The gas tanks for the automobiles spreading everywhere. It's coming this way now, about 20 yards to my right.
Aha, look at that. He hands it off to us here on Everything Old is New Again. That was from 1937. We're in 2017, and things haven't changed since then. 2000, what am I saying? 2017. 2021, and nothing has changed in all of those years.
Such an odd year to think we're in. It's so random.
I can explain that, but I'll do it off the air. The point is, and the question is, why hasn't anything changed since either the video, the television show, what would we say? I say television, but it's really the movie War of the Worlds. I saw it on TV, the 50s, 60s, but it was created in the 50s. What about the actual Jules Verne novel back in 1890s, in that range? Why? And I think David Cohen's asking this question, and it is valid. If there's UFOs, in all that time that we've been thinking about it, learning about it, why have they never presented themselves publicly in any way, shape, or form to the general public, Dr. Viviani?
I don't know. They may want to only communicate with certain people in charge, or they say that you have to be spiritually enlightened they want to basically, they don't want to interfere with us. They just want to watch us and guide us. I don't think they want to come in. One of the theories is they really don't want to come in and disrupt our society and start, they really want to just nurture it.
Interesting. There are other theories that I'll get into in a minute. I want to talk about just a bit for a moment about a recent report that was on this station called the Daily Blast. It's a morning show in the Midwest somewhere. Listen to the way they present a little something.
Listen up, all you believers. 2 classified Pentagon reports on UFOs have been revealed, including a newly leaked photo. Here it is, showing what the pilot described as a silver object found hovering above the Atlantic Ocean. And if you zoom in, it appears to be some sort of triangular object. The report reportedly could not rule out alien or non-human technology. Now, here's where it gets really weird. There is some speculation that some UFOs are able to move through the air and underwater, raising the possibility that aliens are operating beneath the ocean. You know what they say, Jeff, that we know more about the moon and outer space than we know about our own ocean.
Exactly. They're living in the center of Earth, just like they're living in the center of the moon.
He thinks they're in the moon.
Oh, Jeff has his candy shell Skittles theory.
He thinks the moon's inside out. He's not going to let go of that.
I like it.
So now this is what sets back scientific discovery, discussion, everything we talked about in the past about UFOs. This kind of silly, nonsensical attitude taken by people on television. David Cohen.
Doug, we know less about what happens in the ocean than in space. So obviously they're in the ocean. Right. I mean, that's the facts. Right.
But here's the silly thing. They're making fun of the fact of a UFO that could possibly, if in theory, travel hundreds of millions of miles, light years away, and they can't go, and it's in space. It's, of course, it's space worthy.
Why couldn't it go in the water?
God forbid. Of course it could go in water.
They have it's called USO, unidentified submerged objects, because there's been a lot of sightings of UFOs coming in and out of water places, like down in Florida, outside of Florida, or in Maine there were some.
So why are we? This is what bothers, and it just this woman on this show, the second one in command. You hear this one, making fun. And then this other guy making this stuff. I object to making fun of this outright. You want to make fun of it, be sly about it. David Cohen, you're the perfection galore when it comes to making fun of this topic in a believable way. And my question to you is, in any way, shape, or form, did you think that was good broadcasting? What did you think of that what you just heard there?
No, I mean, that show's actually dumber than ours.
Exactly.
Which is good to know.
I mean, we have some information we're presenting. These people are just
we
mocking.
don't. Yeah, it sounded like a lot of nonsense.
And that total mockery angers me. I'm trying to think of the right word.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it in a little seriousness. We're going to talk about something interesting here about this whole topic. To me, I want to give you a couple of stats here, because we have a TESS, which is called a Transitioning Exoplanet Survey Satellite, which basically is a satellite that then has a huge, tremendous telescope on it. We also have the James Webb Space Telescope that's set to launch at some point this decade. And all of that is telling us right now that the astronomers have gone through this, and they have seen the evidence of over 1,000 planets that they believe could sustain life from these these viewing points. And there's a German team of scientists discovered 2 what they're calling super Earths that are about 11 light years away. And there's also a published report that there are 24 in October. Who did this? Germans as well. 24 potentially super habitable planets that may have conditions that have either hosted life in the past or could in the future. So they're basically saying at this point, if you look at different statistics, that there's 4,500 exoplanets out there that have been discovered by NASA in total, and approximately 50 of which are believed to be potentially habitable as of September 2018. They have the right size, the right orbit, and they have water on the surface. So if we're just in our own backyard, so to speak, because that sounds far away, just viewing what we can see and seeing these planets that exist like this, what you think could be out there that we don't see. So, Dr. Viviani, let's go back to the theory here, the basic theory. Are we the only ones in the universe?
I don't think so. They, in that article as well, didn't they say that they found like 1,000 more galaxies
beyond that? So
they're thinking that there could be billions of life-sustaining planets. It just was. If you want to get spiritual about it, like if there's why would we be the only creation in the universe? Why not have a grand?
And if we were the only creation, why would there be so many galaxies and so many planets? David Cohen.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. Now, the only other thing I would add is that there might be other life forms that we don't even know exist because they're existing on some other,
plane.
On some other plane or some other alternate universe. I mean, I definitely would not be critical of that, just because we don't think that life as we know it, the way we're living here, exists elsewhere, or we're saying we think it might, actually. That doesn't mean there are other types of life forms out there that we may never really understand or know about.
That's a good point. Here's the thing. When you really think about it, with respect to what's the technology that, let's put it this way, look at our technology that changed only in the last 1,000 years of our culture. Look at the Middle Ages to now and what has changed technologically. And if we drove a car in the Middle Ages, they would think that we were, aliens or whatever you want to say. They would think over and above, right? David Cohen?
That's a great point. I mean, what's happened just in the last 100 years versus what's happened in the last 1,000 years. It's difficult to even wrap your mind around, and just so take that out into the future and what could be happening in the next 100 years. And that shows you right there might be other, life forms that are so far ahead of us and have evolved into living in different, like you said, planes or universes. So, it's quite possible.
It takes me to another point. That's a great point. But it takes me to another point also, is that what about if there was another civilization on a planet, wherever it was, that, not just 1,000 years ahead of us technologically, let's say, but 10,000 to 100,000 years ahead of us.
How about a million?
Right.
That's what they're saying. They're like, to overcome the laws of physics as we think them now, they got to be really, really, way ahead of us.
Well, you look at that Tic Tac. We can go back to the show, and we're on iHeart and we're radio. You can go look that up, or any podcast, or go to our website. There's all these shows we did on UFOs. But 2 shows ago, I don't have the number on top of my head what show it was, but 2 UFO shows ago, we spoke about the Tic Tac video, right? And in that video, they're saying these metal objects were defying the laws of physics as we know it. Well, if you were 10,000 years ahead of us technologically, you'd be able to defy the laws of physics as we know it, I would suggest, because we defy the laws of physics as they knew it back in the Middle Ages. Doctor?
Yeah.
All right.
No, absolutely. They have those craft do maneuvers that we can't do, and there's many videos released and reports from the military and from the Navy and all around the world.
But it makes sense if they were coming from a civilization that was timing-wise born earlier than we were.
Sure.
And to think that that's not possible is the height of hubris in my mind. The height of saying,
like that we're it.
But we're it. And by the way, that goes back to the early days of man and woman, whatever, civilization, and said, everything revolved around the earth. Why? Just because we're the greatest, and it's silly. So that basic thought then, to me, makes me angry at the people at the Daily Blast and these other organizations when they just don't, just think of that. Don't think of, silly things. You want to make fun of it. I understand. That's totally cool. But don't make fun of it by saying, that anyone that believes in this is silly, is nonsensical. That is the first step towards going the wrong direction on this. Let's be open-minded and let's think about what the heck it's all about. Of course, it's great entertainment. The theories are amazing. I want to talk about a theory when we get back about, are these UFOs not extraterrestrial, but actually terrestrial, in that they might be humans from the future? We'll be back right after this. Everything old's new again.
Now, back to America's entertainment pop culture talk show. Everything old is new again, with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
This is flight number 914 from Earth to our planet. We will be taking off in 3 minutes.
Mr. Chambers! Mr. Chambers! Don't get on that ship! The rest of the book, To Serve Man, it's a cookbook!
How about that? That's a way to discuss and dive into a discussion of UFOs with David Cohen himself, our man from another world. And yet we've also got Dr. John Viviani, the Ufologist Extraordinaire, the enthusiast of all things odd. Doctor, welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, that put a smile on your face. That's a show from 59, 60, 61, something in that range. Why does that put a smile on your face, that clip?
It's one of my favorite Twilight Zones. Just thinking about the guy. It's a cookbook. Think about it. The guy's stowing on the ship, and they go, we have to fatten you up.
At the end, they give him a sandwich. He throws it around, but then he has to eat it because he's hungry.
You gotta
David Cohen, have you seen that one?
Of course. Oh. Have I seen that one?
Well, let me ask you a question, because I started to show Leo my 8-year-old Twilight Zones. And
did he see it?
He hasn't seen that one yet, and I don't think it's anything horrible, but I'm just wondering, do you think it's something that I should hold back till he's 10 or 12,
I don't know.
that particular episode?
Come on. First of all, those shows are so... I mean, the concepts aren't dated, but the shows themselves are dated. I think a kid kind of...
Yeah.
He's smarter than that.
Yeah, he's totally into it. We've only seen 5, but he's totally into. He saw the one the other day with Burgess Meredith breaking his glasses.
That's a great one.
So great. And Roddy McDowell being in a zoo, basically.
A zoo.
Yeah, that's another good one.
Yeah, he saw that one.
Did you show him the one with the gremlin?
Not yet, though. He wanted to see one about little people. So the one where two astronauts land on a planet, and the one runs into the little world there, so to speak, the little town. He steps on him and all. He saw that one.
I mean, the only thing with the gremlin is I could be a little scary, but how old is he now?
8.
He's 8 already. I think he'll be okay.
I think he's good. I'm going to dive in some more of those. Although he's not going to be listening to Everything Old is New again when we talk about UFOs. That's too scary. Just the way we're presenting it, not the subject information. But I would suggest this, as I left off before. There are scientists, one in particular. His gentleman's name is Dr. Michael P. Masters, who's a professor of biological anthropology at Montana Tech in Butte, Montana. He received a Ph.D. from Ohio State University in 2009, where he specialized in evolutionary anatomy, archaeology, and biomedicine. He's got a book called Unidentified Flying Objects, a multidisciplinary scientific approach to the UFO phenomenon. That is a mouthful. What do you garner, before we go any further, from that information, Dr. Viviani?
Well, then some pretty serious guy is looking into it. What is he forming his task force, or?
No, he just wrote a book.
Oh.
David Cohen, what do you think about this guy?
What can I think? I mean,
did he do
I fell asleep halfway through you reading the title.
I'm wondering if anybody's on my wavelength. That tells me, to me, anyone can be a UFO extraordinaire, enthusiast. Anyone can be someone that wants to dive into this. And if you've got a typewriter, so to speak, or you know how to type with two hands,
typewriter,
a computer, you can develop a book yourself about this topic. More specifically, though, this guy has an interesting theory. His theory is that they're not extraterrestrials. He's saying that sightings that we're seeing are basically human beings from the future, and that are much more advanced, of course, than we are now, coming back in time as more or less history kind of experimentation, or just looking at our civilization to learn of the history of where they came from. Dr. Viviani.
I find that more far-fetched than the UFOs visiting us, because that whole time travel thing is mind-boggling.
I have a similar thought, but before I do, David Cohen, what is your thought of that theory?
I mean, time travel it's just so out of the realm of what I can get my mind around, because the possibilities are limitless. If everybody can time travel in the future and come back, I think you were saying on a previous show, Doug, wouldn't that block the sun out? How many people are traveling back in time if everybody can do it? It's crazy. So I agree with John. It's a little far-fetched.
Yeah, and think about, you just see one Back to the Future movie with one.
Yeah, how it changes the...
Yeah, he just changed it for one person. What if you've got a whole civilization traveling back in time? It would be complete chaos.
Yeah,
right.
Although this theory is that somehow you can't, if you do that, I don't think you can physically interact with this. It's not like you'd more be you'd be coming back kind of like as an observer somehow. I don't know, you'd be physically in
Why
space.
wouldn't you be able to touch yourself, so to speak, or interact with yourself and whatever?
I don't know.
Or forget that. So you're going back in time, you're 3,000, it's the year 5,000.
Yeah.
And you're going back in time 3,000 years. Of course, you're not going to run into anybody you know. So why can't you interact with those people?
Because one interaction can... You've seen that city.
I know that, but we're a bunch of boobs. Listen, you kidding?
Besides,
not every human being in the year 5,000 is going to be a generous, great person. Or intelligent. They can make a mistake.
Suppose more than one comes back and they throw off the future by one time, and then they come back again and they throw off the future again.
It's called the multiverse. Have you not seen the Avengers?
Boy, no, I have not.
I agree, though. All of this is I don't think time travel will ever be possible, because if it was possible, whoever's doing it would be doing it right now.
Yeah.
And I guess we fall flat here because then I was going to say, wouldn't we know about it? I guess we're saying that we would know about it because they're visiting and they're looking and they're observing and getting out. But I don't think anything is perfect. I think we'd have a lot of different things going on here. So I agree. I think this fella kind of does not carry the day for us. Am I wrong when I say that? We're not going with the time travel, correct? David Cohen?
It's an interesting concept. It's fun to think about, but yeah, not really.
All right, so let's go back to our friend Luis Elizondo, who we did a show about a couple shows back, 3 shows back, and he's appeared and surfaced to discuss something else.
Luis Elizondo is Director of Special Programs at the To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. He also headed the Pentagon's Office for Investigating UFO Incidents, and is the star of the History Channel's Unidentified. He joins us tonight. Luis, thanks so much for coming on. So what is this material, and why could it shed light on the question of what UFOs might be?
Sure. Well, our company over the last year and a half has actually obtained quite a bit of material. And ultimately, we're in the process of analyzing this material at 3 different levels. We're looking at its physical properties, its chemical, or if you will, molecular properties, and then ultimately its atomic properties. And it's really at that point we'll be able to make some sort of definitive conclusion.
We've talked about this in another show, and we're back to visit with Elizondo. The first thing is he was in charge of the Pentagon task force, and then sort of quit and presented his information 3 years ago on the internet all over the place. Then disappeared. Now he's back. He's the head of this, or I guess you'd say the host of this show called Unidentified. Does that lend to his credibility, or does that take his credibility away from you, Dr. Viviani? That he's now in entertainment and kind of parlaying.
No,
this.
I've seen that show. That's one of the absolute best shows I've seen on this subject. It's really well done. They have a lot of scientists that come in, Navy guys, military guys. They're taking it to another level. They're not going down to like, some drunken farmer in Iowa seeing the lights in the sky.
Right.
This is Army, Navy pilots, astronauts, all kinds of things.
All right, so he's somebody that has credibility.
Yeah.
It did before and now retains his credibility. He's talking about the fact that, again, there's some material out there that is part of this I think
so.
He's claiming release.
He's claiming he has physical material. When he says material,
all he's saying is that the physical material. He's not saying it's extraterrestrial. He's not saying anything. He's saying we are testing it, and we're going to let you know. Now he has a TV show, so I presume if he came up with something, you'd see it on TV. David Cohen, if he announced and showed whatever material he's got there, to show these tests, and the test revealed that this material that he found, wherever he found, he's got to explain that too. But whatever material he found is not of this world. What would you think? I'm not talking about a satellite, or I should say, a meteor. We're talking about something, metallic, or something that's that's manufactured. Let's put it that way.
Well, I'd probably want to make sure it was independently verified that it was not from this world.
Right, but I agree with you, but let's presume that that's true, that is the case. Okay. Now where do we go with this?
Well, that would be unbelievable. I mean, that would change the world as we know it.
How do I say this? I agree with you, but the way our presentation is, the way that it's tongue-in-cheek with so many people, the way that it's not taken seriously, I wonder if this would have the gravitas that it needs to change our thoughts. Doctor?
If any serious person with an open mind, if they saw a scientific report saying we don't know what this is, it's not from the Earth, what else can you believe? But then, it's how it's presented, and think about a society, too. Everything comes and goes so fast. They want the news cycle, blah, 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 and all of a sudden, and then 2 days later, it's out of the news. It could be, even though it's so important, I could see it being swept under by the media.
We're not going to allow it to happen. We're going to follow up on this, and we're going to make sure that we find out the results of this. We'll be back right after this, and everything else new again. Talk all things UFO.
This is Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Well, I was sent as a kind of advanced scout. These cigarettes, do you call them? They taste wonderful. We haven't got a thing like this on Mars. That's incidentally where I come from. We're beginning to colonize. My friends will be arriving very shortly. I think they're going to like it here.
I have to do a little waiting myself. You see, Mr. Ross, my name isn't Haley. And I do agree with you, this is an extraordinary place to colonize. We folks on Venus had the same idea. We got it several years ago.
From the Twilight Zone. It's one you don't usually see. It's a great one.
It's that one.
Yeah, David Cohen, you remember that Twilight Zone? Is the guy who takes the hat off, he's in the diner, and he's got the third eye.
That was great.
Ross Martin, I think his name. That was.
I remember as a kid. I remember seeing that as a kid. That spooked me.
Yeah, that was a spooky one because they had a bunch of humans in the diner talking about this, that, and the other thing, and then they go out and into a bus, and the bus ends up in a ditch, and this guy comes back, and he's gotten rid of his enemies, if you will, and he's ready to colonize. Anyway, so this is the question: if there is life out there, what are their goals? Lots of ifs, if they're actually viewing us, if they're circling around, our planet, if they're coming into our airspace, if they're coming into some, view of humans, why? It's a great question. David says it. Why would they just be floating around, riding around, and then disappear? What's going on, Doctor?
Floating around.
Well, what are they doing? It's all every videos are floating around.
Because the theory is that the ships actually go in and out of different frequencies from a hard matter to more of a energy matter, and that's how they go faster than the speed of light. And the flickering is them going in between, for whatever reason, they're going in between.
Well, what is it? Is this a college course that take the course and visit Earth? Is it a
what
cruise,
are they doing?
A cruise ship?
Yeah, it's a cruise ship
thing that you go on an excursion, and our excursion is going to take a trip and look at the Earthlings. I mean, what's the point, David?
It's like their version of the Kardashians, It's a reality show.
I mean, could it be?
Showing humans in everyday life.
How crazy is this? They're 10,000 years ahead of us, 50,000 years ahead of us. Could it not be? Is that possible? Could we not be an excursion on a cruise for aliens going around the galaxy?
Oh, my God.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Maybe there's something interesting about us to them,
Well, we interact with the dolphins, don't we?
Yeah.
You go to a place, you want to see what's going on in the different various locations you're going to. On a cruise ship, you go out. Maybe take your own portable ship, and you get to go to California, USA, in the year 2021. Ride by and see what they're doing there, and take a look at what they call Disneyland. Hover around it for a couple of minutes, and you come back and you have your buffet back on the ship.
Yeah, you got to make the buffets good.
I mean, that's how crazy it could be, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's what's going on.
It's more that they're keeping an eye on us, and that they want to help us grow spiritually to join the next plane. They said we're in a big mankind is on this edge, ready to improve itself.
Why? But why would they want us to improve? What do we mean to them? Why do they care?
Well, because supposedly there's it's like Star Trek. There's a bunch of planets that work together, and once we have the capability of destroying ourselves with our weapons, they don't, it could affect them. They say, the side effects of destroying the Earth. And for whatever reason, if they're coming here, they're very interested in Earth. Who knows why? But
because we have the capacity to love, and others do not. This is what you see a lot of explanation. But maybe there is something to the human spirit that they don't have. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, possibilities. I think it's more simple than that. I think we're just a curiosity to these individuals. Anyway, how about, let's go back to a little more of substance here. There's a Russian cosmonaut in August of 2020 shared a video showing apparent UFOs when he was in the International Space Station. First question, do you think he'd ever be invited back because he did this? Second question, do you think it's real? Let's listen to it first, and we'll come on back.
Interesting story. A Russian cosmonaut who is currently up there on the International Space Station right now has suggested he may have filmed a UFO in orbit. I want to show you the video he posted. This happened when he was filming the Aurora Borealis. He was doing a time lapse. There's a few objects that appear. 5 objects appear flying alongside each other with the same distance in between them.
David Cohen, have you seen this? I know you've seen this. It's 4 lights, and they're moving in unison together out a window of the International Space Station. What do you think of it?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. What did happen to the cosmonaut? Do we know? Was he fired or? killed or
has
whatever
come
they did.
back, and his last quote was, "It was decided to hand over these materials to experts who will tell us what that was in their opinion." And then he closed the door and went into the Space Research Institute of the Russian Academy of Sciences and has never been heard from since. Some of that's tongue-in-cheek, but that quote is legit. So I don't know what's happened to him since then. It's a good question. But maybe if you tune into Stranger Things, he may appear there. Have you seen that show, David Cohen?
Yes, I have.
And we're looking forward to season 4, are we not?
When is that coming out?
Probably the beginning of 2000. No, hang on a second. Excuse me. Should be within the next 6 months.
Cool.
Maybe 3
months. When we find out about all those, the government, what they know about UFOs about that same time?
Well, this is my point, is the Russians involved in that show as well, and they're behind a lot of stuff going on. So who knows what's happening, what goes on with this gentleman. But I thought, and if you want to find it, it's easy. Just Google or go to YouTube, and you'll see Russian cosmonaut UFO, and you will find this video. Doctor, what do you think of this video in terms of the way it looks?
It looks legit. But to me, if you really look closely, it doesn't look like 4 separate lights. When it turns on an angle, you can kind of see a silhouette, like it looks like a part of one big ship.
Right. That's a good point. I don't think it's 3 or 4 different ships that are in unison. It's one ship with lights on it. That would make a lot more sense because they're stationary, and off they go. So, question then is, what is the entertainment on these ships?
Everything old is new again.
This is
reruns.
The thing. Exactly. I mean, they might be coming back, David Cohen. They may have heard a show or two that we've presented. It goes out into the ether, does it not? Does everything that is presented on radio go out into space at some point, or does our atmosphere keep it? I think it all goes out, does it not?
Yeah.
So if it all goes out, at some point they've heard this show, because this is show like number 363, and we've been on 7 years. At some point, do you think anyone's going to have any interest in coming back and picking your brain, David Cohen, as to why you're even here to discuss?
No, our show probably serves, if anything else, if nothing, for no other reason than a deterrent. I don't. They hear it and they go, yeah. Let's see what's happening on Mars.
So when they are promoting on the cruise ship, the excursion to Earth, there's not playing a video of or an audio version of our show to introduce them to what they might witness along the way. No.
I doubt it.
I don't know. I would say this. I think it's a darn interesting topic. I think there's a lot to it. I think every time we come on the air, there's something else that we're presenting that, by the way, no one else is presenting in the fashion that we are with the Ufologist Extraordinaire, the individual that is just an enthusiast for all things odd, Dr. Viviani. What else do you have to say? Finally, you've got a couple of minutes here. Is there anything left that we have not discussed for this version of Everything Old is New Again's look into the update of UFOs that you have seen in your investigation over the last 6 months that you and your staff have developed? That, or at the very least, what are you working on that we could look forward to hearing next time?
Well, I'm very interested in the submergible unidentified objects. Seriously, there's a lot of reports of those, but also any of the released the Navy, the Pentagon and Navy footage that they keep. Supposedly, they got more that's going to be coming out. So if we can see, people need to see stuff, to believe it, right? So if you start seeing some of these videos over and over again, and proven to not be enhanced,
debunked, right? Okay.
If they're real videos of something real in the sky, and we don't know what it is, this, it's not a reflection. If they can somehow prove that it's a solid object, or
well, let's put it this way: what do you expect, or what would be your best expectation of the release of the material from the Pentagon this summer? What would be the best thing that could possibly happen?
That's not going to happen. The best that can happen is they come, hey, we have proof that we're not alone, and they're going to say, put it right out there. That's not going to happen. It may be more, maybe some documents. You know how you see all those ones that were blackened out. Maybe they'll open those up. I mean, supposedly they got so much stuff to release going back 50 years, but I'm not optimistic that they're...
Dr. Viviani, I appreciate your time. Wish we ended on a more optimistic note. No. However, we will be back this summer to examine exactly what was presented, what was leaked, what we can do with this topic further and advance it. David Cohen, yes.
Can I make a suggestion? I think we'll know in advance when they're going to release the report, right?
Yes.
I think we should do a show, the three of us, like real time, right after that thing is released, and we have the information. Let's do this show.
Great
Get
idea.
it out there.
All right, let's just we got to do a tickler. Doctor, could you get your staff on that? Pull them away from, the crown and, the spitting and so forth, the cleaning up after your mess when you've done a root canal, and have them plug into the computer a reminder as to when this is being released, and we'll do a show that following weekend. That'll be perfect.
I'll have them work right on that.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. David Cohen, enjoyed it. Have a wonderful day, everybody out there. We are going to be here in the ether from now till Kingdom Come out there in space. And listen, if you're listening on a cruise ship somewhere circling the Earth, say hello to us, will you please? We're in New York.
Come on the show.
Welcome to Everything Old is New Again. We'll say to you and say, listen, wait a minute. Is that a close encounter? Hello.